Welcome, everyone. Today, we're looking at a market that's really sending some mixed signals. It's a fascinating story. On one hand, you had the broader market bleeding red, but on the other, a massive IPO was just soaring. It's created this incredible tug of war. Let's get right into it. So, as you can see, Wall Street's mean gauges all finished in the red today. It was a sea of red, really. But look at the NASDAQ. The tech-heavy index took the biggest hit by far. This kind of sell-off, it really suggests there's a growing sense of caution, maybe even risk aversion among investors. They're starting to pull back from some of the hotter, maybe frothier parts of the market. So the big question is, what's behind all this? What's really spooking investors and driving the market into the red like this? Well, the main culprit, if you want to call it that, is the tech sector. It seems like investors are getting a little nervous about the huge upfront spending that's required for all this AI infrastructure. And they're starting to ask, are the sky-high valuations of some of these tech giants really sustainable in the long run? And that brings us to this number. The NASDAQ Composite, which, as you know, is packed with those big tech and AI stocks, dropped nearly 2% today. That is a significant move. And it just shows you how much pressure the tech sector is under right now. But it wasn't a bloodbath across the board. While tech was getting hammered, we actually saw some rotation into other areas. Check it out. Both energy and some of the more defensive stocks actually posted some modest gains. So not everyone was losing today.
Oh, not by a long shot. And speaking of bright spots, while those tech giants were stumbling, one company was having an absolutely fantastic day. Completely defying the market's gloomy mood. And that brings us to the day's biggest success story, the blockbuster IPO of the medical supplies company Medline. Honestly, this was like a much-needed shot of adrenaline for a market that was starting to look a little tired. Get this, Medline's shares skyrocketed 40% on their very first day of trading. A stunning performance, right? Especially when you put it right next to the NASDAQ's 2% drop. It just goes to show you, even in a nervous market, there is still a huge appetite for companies with strong fundamentals. And this wasn't just any IPO. We're talking about the largest in the US so far this year. And here's the kicker. It debuted on the NASDAQ, the very same index that was getting hammered today. So its success is a really welcome boost for the IPO market and a great sign that investors are still willing to place their bets on new companies. And the good news didn't even stop there. The energy sector also had a really strong day, mostly thanks to rising oil prices. Yeah, what's driving this rally in oil are some of the geopolitical tensions we're seeing in the Middle East. It's disrupting tanker movements, and that's raising concerns about supply. It's really a classic example of how global events can have a huge impact on the market, even on a day when investors are generally feeling pretty cautious. So we've seen a market pulled in two totally different directions today. Before we wrap up, we figured we'd have a little fun with our Investment Fortune segment. Just a lighthearted look at what the stars might have in store for your portfolio. All right, first up, if you were born in a dragon year, you are in luck. The stars seem to be aligning for a pretty bullish run, so it might be a good time to ride the wave in some of those cyclical sectors. Of course, just remember to keep a close eye on your portfolio and don't get too carried away. Okay, and now for those born in rabbit years. While the stars are suggesting a more cautious approach, with the market looking a bit choppy, it might be a good time to focus on some of those defensive stocks and maybe safer income-generating investments. Just something to think about. So there you have it, a market truly at a crossroads. Will that tech sell-off continue to drag everything down, or will the incredible success of the Medline IPO spark a whole new wave of optimism? We'll be watching closely to see what happens next. Thanks so much for joining us.